My name is Jack Barber. The shop I work in, it's a blacksmith shop from the 1880s. I'm 68 years old, but I can keep up with anybody that wants to pound metal into a blade.
My name is Michael Cross. Bladesmithing is a never-ending skill set. I am not formally trained, so I've got some very unique approaches to get the job done.
My name's Todd Martin. I work for a crane company, and I have a blacksmith business. I like doing it the old-fashioned way, all hand tools, and I like the old tools. I don't buy a lot of new stuff.
My name is Leland Edward Stone. I'm a blacksmith in a theme park in Buena Park, California. I can move a hammer like nobody's business. If we're reduced to working with a campfire and a rock, I'm the guy to win this competition.
Bladesmiths, welcome to the scrapyard. You're here to engage in 3 rounds of bladesmithing competition designed to test every aspect of your skills. And of course, after every round, you'll be presenting your work to our panel of expert judges. Let's meet them now. ABS Mastersmith Jay Nielsen, Historic Weapons Recreation Specialist David Baker, Edged Weapons Specialist Doug Marcaida. I'm sure you've assessed by now that because you're at the scrapyard, that means that you'll be harvesting the steel that you need to make signature blades in your signature style from the scrap around you.
I work almost entirely with scrap material, so being here is perfect for my oddball blend of interest and experiences.
And you'll also be using these coal forges.
The coal forges are a little bit more restricting than I'm used to. I have a big brick forge where I do most of my work, so I'm feeling nervous.
The length of your blades must fall between 10 and 13 inches. The overall length of your weapon must not exceed 22 inches. Additionally, you must include a hidden tang design in your blade shape. Keep in mind that in the second round, you'll be putting handles on those blades to turn them into fully functional weapons that will be tested for strength and durability in a bone chop and for edge retention in a sandbag slice. Bladesmiths, you will have 4 hours in this round of competition to complete your work. Oh, and one more thing. There will be no design period. Good luck. Your 4 hours starts now.
The hardest part about choosing some sort of recyclable material is you want to make sure it's good quality steel that can be hardened.
I start looking at stuff and seeing how much work it's going to be to use that piece, how fast I can cut off of that, what is the easiest time limit and get the best blade out of that material. Just do this.
Todd's coming back with a pretty wide piece of steel right there. I have no idea what that is.
It's a mower blade.
Oh, yeah, that's a huge brush hog blade.
Yeah, that's a great choice. More than likely 5160 also.
I want to go with a working bush knife because I know it'll perform against the sharpness and the chop test.
Picking a metal is going to represent a little bit of a challenge because some of the steel could have had a really rough history, which could include microfractures. You don't see these things, but they can reveal themselves whenever you do the heat treat.
Michael's got a pry bar.
Is that going to be a high carbon content?
It depends. We've had some that were really good. We've had some that were sketchy.
I've made some swords before, but a knife that size is a little out of my comfort zone, so I'm going to make a Japanese tanto. It doesn't include a lot of fancy hammer work, but it can also be a very functional blade.
My bladesmithing style is something I call scrounge technology. I like digging through scrap piles and seeing what nuggets I can come up with. I see a stack of leaf springs. I'm on that.
Leaf spring. What do we think of that steel for use in this competition?
Oh, that's fantastic.
I'm making a Bowie knife because it's a form I'm fairly comfortable with, and I think I can pull it off in the time allotted.
I'm looking around in a sea of all kinds of materials that we could use, saying that's soft, that's too hard, or that's going to be way too difficult to forge in 4 hours. I go to the leaf spring. All right. I've seen what happens when they go on those cow bones with a knife, so I want to make sure that my knife would withstand that kind of abuse. I'm doing a sax, which is a very primitive Scandinavian-type knife.
I like watching the different smiths. Some of them are cranking like maniacs. You got Jack over here who's going nice and slow and steady. That's one of the things about coal. You spend almost as time maintaining your fire as you do working on your steel. I'm gonna be blowing by now.
I'm having a little trouble. I'm not able to get the airflow right.
Either doesn't have his air vent opened up at the base.
What the heck?
He's not getting air through that.
Come on. Stay up. Air leakage, the bottom. This is the ultimate test. Is to see what you can do under pressure against whatever odds are thrown to you. I'm a little nervous.
I've got a coal forge, so I'm just stoked at that. I love just heating it up and just being able to baby the fire and pound that steel out. It's just so satisfying. I'm looking for any early signs that this steel is going to be a problem for me later on. It looks good. It's not chipping, crumbling, cracking, doing anything that's causing me any worry.
First thing I want to do is make sure this is going to be worth expending resources on.
Did I just see Leland put a very small piece of that steel in his fire? I think Leland's running a piece of test metal.
Not a bad idea.
Pretty smart idea.
And I have a good idea of how it's going to respond to heat treating later on. That's one other variable I've taken off the table.
The steel I started with is pretty heavy, which will mean it'll make a stronger knife, but it's just going to take a whole lot longer to forge it out. I start on the tang because if you don't leave enough metal, when you pull the tang out, you end up with a tang that's too short. I want a tang that's going to be uniform so that it'll make it easier for me to make the handles and adjust it later on.
Bladesmiths! 1 hour has elapsed. You have 3 hours remaining to finish your work.
Now that I'm able to draw this thing out, I'm able to relax, and it's looking good from here.
I think Todd's starting to see a little light at the end of the tunnel. It looks good, man.
My plan's to quench about the last 30 minutes, so all good laid plans.
My competitors are seasoned, and they know what they're doing. So, you know, my OCD is running pretty high. I'm scrutinizing this blade, staring at every angle, just assessing any little issues. Constantly taking measurements, double checking and critiquing every little bit of it as I go.
Yeah, I'm worried about Michael's.
My concern is him being so meticulous that he kills himself on time.
I really have a lot of little things that I want to fix. It can always be better, always. There's no question.
Funny watching Leland. Looks like you don't have a care in the world. Like, okay, this is a Saturday afternoon in the backyard.
The simple device I use to maintain a consistent thickness, I call it a kiss block. The kiss block limits the downward travel of the hammer against the hot and pliable stock.
That way he's not going to have issues with deep hammer marks later on.
At this point, I'm having to do many more heats than I normally do to get the tang stretched out. Now it's too long, so I cut it off. Disastrous. Drew it out some more.
So it looks like Jack's going back after that tang.
Spent over an hour hammering on that.
Yeah, he's a tangaholic.
He's a tangaholic.
I'm about to quench. Trying to get my blade to about 1,450 degrees. I'm concerned about warping my blade.
Bladesmiths! You have just 30 minutes remaining to finish your work.
Yeah. Getting tired. And there's a part of it that's a little soft. I know I need a second quench, and I know that I don't have enough time to be able to heat this blade totally up again. So I'm just gonna do an edge quench. This has to work. It's a go or no go right now.
So to make myself stand out in this challenge, I am gonna pull a lot of little tricks. So I go off to the scrap piles, and I find a couple pieces of angle iron, and I stack them down the middle of my forge.
Michael's actually made himself a heating chamber. So instead of sliding back and forth and playing with it, he'll have 360 degrees of heat around that blade. He puts that in there, gets it nice and even for a quench.
Now I've got the form that I'm gonna be using. It's time to harden it. And guess what? My fire's gone out. Is it stressful seeing the coal completely out? No.
Leland's struggling to get a fire going here.
At this point, it's real difficult not to panic, but since I tested the steel, I am sure it's gonna work in the heat treat.
see it's got a little warp in it. That's got me concerned because it's heat treated now. Do I leave this alone or do I play with it and risk breaking it? My instinct is screaming, don't mess with it. I just can't help myself. I have to adjust this warp. So if this fails, I don't have enough time left to make another blade.
I'm really getting worried about Michael. If he tries to force that warp out too far, it's gonna go snap.
It's a whole hell of a lot better.
My blade is hitting the edge of the forge, so I'm having to move the blade back and forth to get the whole blade to quenching heat. One end is starting to cool down while the other end's heating up, and so I'm frantically trying to get the heat as high as possible, and I don't have a lot of time left.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Bladesmith, shut down your machines and drop your tools. This round is over. We will be reconvening back at our forge where the judges will evaluate your work.
I'm really apprehensive. The judges can find any little flaw. There's a chance that I could be going home.
All right, bladesmiths, welcome to our forge. Now that your blades have been forged, it's time for the judges to take a look at your work. Jack, you're up first. Please present your blade to the judges.
Overall, your blade is solid looking. The tang is slightly off from the blade, but it's got that sax look to it.
You were moving steel pretty good, but most of it was back here. I saw you draw out that tang. You shortened it up twice, didn't you?
Yes.
It's still pretty thick.
Michael, you're up. Please present your work to the judges.
Well, Michael, you got the proportions on this very nice. Definitely like to see you thin this out some, make it a little bit lighter, but overall nicely done.
Well, you forged this beautifully. You did a lot of finish work with your forging. It was good watching your work. Thank you.
Todd, you're up.
Well, Todd, for the test, we're doing bone chops. It's good to see a spine that can back that up. Good job, sir.
Thank you.
It's good work. Your blade's very sharp, and I think of all of our blades, you have the most defined actual edge on yours.
Thank you.
Leland.
What I'm seeing is there's a little bit of a warp, and it doesn't just warp, but twists a little bit.
You got a nice thick tang to work with. I got one question for you, though. Why is the spine and the edge the same thickness?
I presumed I would address that with later grinding.
Okay.
Bladesmiths, as a group, these are the best blades we've ever had come out of a round one where cold forges were used, which means that the judge's final decision is going to be very difficult. So while they go into deliberation, please step off the forge floor. So judges, moving forward, I think it's safe to say that Michael is definitely in the clear, correct? Yeah. Is there another bladesmith definitely moving into round two?
Todd.
Everybody's in agreement there. So our decision comes down to 2 leaf spring blades. We'll start with Jack's blade on the end there.
I just hope that the tang isn't a major issue.
Jack spent more than half his time making a tang. Even with all that work, it gets fatter. It doesn't taper. He's going to have a lot of grinding to do.
Bit of a warp in the blade. I'd like to see that corrected. But my question is, how hard is it? It's skating on pretty good.
All right, and our last bladesmith, Leland.
That warp twist thing has got me worried now.
He's got a warp in the blade. Swings quite a bit off to the right there. Actually seems harder on the ends and softer in the middle.
Judges, you have a final decision to make. Doug, have you made yours?
Yes, I have.
Dave?
Yeah.
Jay?
Yeah.
Let's go tell our smiths. The judges' deliberation is complete, and they've made a final decision. The bladesmith who's leaving the forge is Leland. Your blade did not make the cut.
You know, Leland, it was a pleasure watching you work. Your control of the steel and the fire was amazing to watch. But during your quench, you developed a warp in your blade, and the fact that when I file checked it, there's a soft spot in the center that didn't harden properly. And those are the reasons we're sending you home.
Leland, please surrender your blade.
I feel disappointed. I should have been more careful about my heat treating, but I'm elated at having been here. Has my love of blade making increased because of this? Absolutely. I'm not moving on, but I feel like I'm moving forward, and I'll take that.
All right, bladesmiths, good job. You've made it to the second round, and now that your blades have been tempered, it's time to turn them into fully functional weapons by attaching handles to them. The stipulation for this round is that you must include a metal frame for the tang of your blades. You will have 3 hours in this round. When the time runs out and your blades have been tested, one of you will have to surrender his weapon and leave the forge. Good luck, bladesmiths. Your 3 hours starts now. If these guys are just gonna frame that tang in metal, why didn't they just do a full tang to begin with?
A lot of times the reasons for doing a metal frame is when you want to do something like a big Bowie knife. There's no way you would get that guard over that onto the shoulders because it's actually bigger than the shoulders.
So this is a technical challenge.
Yeah, you got to put a little thought into it.
I want to attack the frame first because it's something I'm not familiar with. I get my frame all cut out.
A little off.
And it's not fitting. It's too tight. It's still too thick back there. It's a little frustrating.
All right, better.
I was relieved and finally get it to where it fits in there perfectly.
I have never done a metal frame before, ever. It's time to go to Plan B, and I don't even know what Plan B is. Just gonna go right ahead and try to cover the whole tang with that piece of metal and attach the sides to that.
I'm not sure if he's getting the concept that you need to see the frame all the way around the handle.
It goes all the way around. It's a horseshoe.
No, I know, but there's not a lot of space between the edges of that bar he's got there and his tang, so it's gonna lay very, very narrow handle.
We have to make this metal frame around the tang, and I have never done this before.
We really might have whizzed in Michael's Cheerios with this challenge, because I don't think I've ever seen a Tonto with a frame handle before.
I start shaping out that pocket and try to get it as close a fit as I can with the frame. I had no training or formal instruction. Part of why I'm here is I can prove that put your mind to it and develop that skill, and you can hang with the big dogs.
Bladesmiths, you have 1 hour remaining.
I trace out the shape of my tang on my wood so that I can drill holes in my wood and my tang. When I go to drill the hole to put the wood in the handles, it shifts.
I got a big gap over there. What's going on? There's a lot of ways to get your pins to line up and slide through. You know, just using a larger drill bit and knocking the edges off this hole so when you're pushing your pin through, it wants to line up.
I know I don't have a lot of time left on the clock. I want to do everything I can to pull this off because I don't want to go home. I'm stressing out. I believe this is happening. Pins won't fit through the tang. This 2 pins is what it's getting. That. Okay. Finally, I'm able to get the holes lined up, and I gotta catch up. You guys are ahead of the game already.
I strained a little making the metal frame to begin with, but I think I've got a handle on it now, so we're getting ready to glue it on. I'm pretty sure that the epoxy will be more than enough. It will hold fine. I actually am weakening my tang if I put a vertical drill hole through it and fill it with a pin. So I'd rather not do that.
I haven't seen Jack drill any holes in his frame, so I'm hoping he's not just going to count on epoxy to hold that frame together, because, you know, we can start chopping on bone and just blow that frame right off if the epoxy doesn't hold up.
I'm going to give it the contours of a traditional style Tonto, and I feel like that's going to help guide your hand to the sweet spot of the handle.
I like what Michael did. He's got where the ricasso is, that handle material flares out. So he was almost building in at like an integral guard.
And then it flares again at the base.
Yeah.
I glue my handle up. Now I just have to wait for it to dry. It's stressing me out.
Bladesmiths, you still have 30 minutes remaining to get some work done.
Ah, Lord help me, Jesus.
I have a pin nightmare. A total of 7 pins in the frame alone. Come on. And I don't even have it sharpened yet. There's 20 minutes left. I'm dying.
That's always a little bit of a hairy spot when you got that many pins to worry about lining everything up and getting it together.
My metal frame's been glued in nice and tight, so I'm trying to do the final sharpening and forming of my blade right now. You know, you're always concerned about how sharp your knife is because I'm putting it through 2 very different tests. I haven't made a lot of big, long blades, and that's a whole different way of sharpening something.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Bladesmiths, drop your tools. This round is over.
I'm feeling very, very nervous. You know, you always wonder if your knife is going to make it no matter how many times you go over things.
This is our strength test, Smiths, the bone chop. I'm gonna take each of your blades, and I'm gonna smash them 3 downward strikes into these thick bones. This is gonna suck. Now, keep in mind, I'm not worried about seeing how far I can get into these bones. What I wanna see is what these bones are gonna do to your blades. How you feeling, Todd?
A little nervous.
Okay.
I'm a little nervous about the heat treat on my blade. That bone chop is very tough stuff, brutal on an edge.
Todd, you got a heavy blade here. I mean, if it wasn't for those contours, I don't think I would have been able to hold on to this knife. But overall, you survived. Good job.
Thank you.
Michael, you got a lot of pins in there. You think it's gonna hold everything on?
Oh, I sure hope so.
Let's find out. It was very comfortable in hand, it was very well balanced. You did lose some of your epoxy, so we got some gapping. That being said, I like the fact that you pinned through the material in the tang, as well as around the perimeter of the frame. It was a very smart move.
Thank you.
All nervous, Jack?
Yeah. Looking at the size of the bones is really kind of scary. But I really feel I've constructed a blade that will withstand that kind of abuse.
You survived, Jack.
Awesome.
Definitely dulled up the edge. I don't feel any sharpness there at all now. The thing that really got me was the handle, pinching my fingers. I think if we kept striking with this, it would eventually come flying out. Overall, it survived.
Thank you. I'm feeling relief that I still have a knife that's in one piece.
To see how sharp your blades are and slash across these sandbags. Todd, you're up first. You ready?
I'm ready. I'm feeling pretty secure, but a little nervous. I hope my edge is still sharp after the chop to slice the bag.
Well, Todd, your blade is plenty sharp. The fact that the blade is heavy and you have a short handle, it's harder to control because it wants to pull away from you. But overall, sir, your blade will cut.
Thank you.
Michael, you're up. You ready?
Let's do it. Well, Michael, I like how it feels. Despite having a larger handle, it balances the blade out. Overall, your blade will cut. Thank you.
Jack, you up? You ready?
I'm ready, sir.
Let's do this.
Michael is probably #1 at this point. Todd and I are probably neck and neck. So I'm feeling very, very nervous.
All right, Jack, when you grab onto it, you can feel that it pushes into my palm. On a slash, no problem, but I can see what Jay was talking about when you're hitting bone. But your blade will cut.
Thank you, sir. I'm concerned about the handle issue, but I'm going to go ahead with a positive attitude because that's the way I want to approach the whole thing.
Bladesmiths, in roughly 7 hours, each of you has selected scrap steel, coal-forged a blade, attached handles to them, and endured weapons testing. But now it's time for one of you to leave the forge. Jack, your blade did not make the cut.
Now, Jack, a few things we saw during the testing, striking the bone, definitely dulled up the edge. And then, to be honest, that handle was really pinching. It really hurt during the testing, striking that bone. So these are reasons we're gonna have to let you go today.
Jack, please surrender your weapon.
I think my wife and family are going to be very proud and very happy that I was able to do this. The first thing I'm going to do when I get home is I'm going to kiss my wife and pet my dog, and I'm going to be really happy I'm back on my own turf.
Todd, Michael, congratulations. You've made it into the final round of this competition, which means that you're both one step closer to the title of Forged and Fire champion and that check for $10,000. Now we're sending you back to your home forge to recreate an iconic weapon from history. That weapon is the Kampilan. According to legend, the Kampilan was the sword that killed explorer Ferdinand Magellan at the Battle of Mactan in what is now the Philippines. The heavy spur-tipped sword was used by island warriors in battle and could chop off 2 heads in one swing. The single-edged blade could also cut through its scabbard with no resistance, allowing it to be quickly wielded without being unsheathed. The Kampilan's distinctively carved wooden hilt was sometimes embellished with strands of hair, offering a unique and appealing appearance for this otherwise deadly weapon.
What in the world is this? This is a completely different sword.
The blades must include a spur at the tip. The handle itself must include a traditional Y shape and a crossguard that is at least 5 inches long. At the end of 5 days, you'll return and present your Kampilan to our panel of expert judges, and only after they've tested them will they declare one of you the Forged and Fire champion. Good luck. We'll see you in 5 days.
It's like romantic campfire, me and the steel. I'm making a Kampilan, strangest sword that I've not heard of. It's a lot of metal to thin out. It's got a weird kind of a fork handle, and it's got a point on the end. Blade is straight, and it's got a curve like a whale. So it's kind of a different sword. Oh, what do we got going on here? The power hammer is giving me trouble. She's warm, it might be overloaded. If this thing dies, I'm back to the old way of stretching this thing. It's gonna be quite a setback if I lose this thing.
It feels really good to be home and back in my home forge. The Kampilan is completely new to me. Part of this is a historical recreation, so it's really important I make it historically accurate. All right, here's my new sword. That's good. I'm really nervous because it doesn't take much for this to get messed up. I feel I can do it, but I just have to stay on task. Looks pretty good. My goal today was to have a profiled sword. That happened, and now I'm a little further ahead than I anticipated. I'm beat.
Yesterday, I had the upside of the motor on the power hammer. Okay. And forged out my piece. There you go. That looks like the picture. Today, I want to make sure I get that thing all tapered, narrowed down. Getting the weight off the blade and trying to thin that down is a task in itself. I hope I have it thin enough for Doug. Hopefully it'll satisfy him. It's getting a lot lighter. Ready for heat treating. Quenching's a real critical thing. You don't want to hear that little tink, you know, that crack sound.
Oh, Chris looks good.
No cracks, no warps.
Hey, yes.
I'm very happy with it.
Lord, thank you, Lord.
Today, I'm gonna cut the spur out of the tip of the blade. All right, here we go. There's a lot of bad things that can happen here. Taking a chisel to any part of your blade can result in unfixable blemishes. I'll take it. Time for the heat treat. Heat treat's the worst part of any blade making process, so I'm incredibly nervous. Warping is the #1 concern I have. When I dunk the blade into that oil, it's gonna do what it's gonna do, and there's nothing I can do to stop it. My gut wrenches. I have a warp. Warp. Sucks. The thinner the steel, the more tricky it can be to get the heat treat to go off without any issues. But as I look at it, I like it. Took kind of a scimitar warp, adds character. It doesn't go side to side, it bows up, kind of like a katana. It is the best warp you can possibly take on. I will take it.
Today, I think the plan is probably eating sawdust. Gonna work on that handle. The way it's designed is a little unusual. The handle has that protruding Y that comes up towards your arm. It looks like it would be uncomfortable to yield, but it's their blade. I'm just making it. Mark up the front guard and cut that one out. I'm gonna do the top guard as one piece and fit it to the handle. It does kind of look like a raptor, kinda. It's not what I was going for, but that's what it turned out to be. It's a dinosaur. I'm a little apprehensive on testing. If something crucially goes wrong, I won't have a blade to turn in, so I'm gonna leave this to the judges to test. Very nice. It looks good. It's a done deal.
This is my last day. I feel pretty good. Just need to grind the tank, fit it to the handle, and just make stuff pretty and sharp. The handle material is a big block of mahogany. Mahogany is a traditional wood. It's tough, it's rot resistant, so I don't have too many concerns about going into this. Getting this handle put on, and that is the point of no return. My only reservations with this blade are that it's hefty, but a lot of my research pointed to the fact that this is a heavy sword. For the royal flair of this sword, genuine human hair. That is something that was on these handles, so it's merely for historical accuracy. And it's funny. Well, it's a Kampilan.
Bladesmiths, welcome back to the forge. You've had 5 days at your home forge to work on your finale weapons. Todd, how did it go?
It was a pleasure. You used the steel that was provided, and I'm glad I had the power hammer. And it really went pretty good. First sword I made.
All right, Michael, how'd it go for you?
It was an interesting build. Definitely different than swords I've made in the past, but I just ran with it. From my research, I discovered that sometimes the hair of their victim would be placed on the handle or animal hair.
So whose hair is that?
Somebody from Brazil.
Well, Bladesmiths, up first is the sharpness test. Dave?
All right, gentlemen, to test the sharpness of your blades, I'll be chopping through our cat's cradle of rope here. Now, Todd, you're up first. You ready?
I am. I'm proud of how my Kampilan turned out. You try to do everything right. You don't know if it's going to work out that way. Lord help me.
All right, Todd, this blade has all the weight right here. You know, it's a weapon that's designed to be used one or two-handed, but controlling all that forward weight definitely puts this as a two-hand only sword. It's a good-looking piece, and it definitely is a cutter. Michael, you're up. You ready?
Let's do it. I am a little worried. If Dave thinks that Todd's sword's heavy, he's gonna really dislike mine.
Still a very heavy weapon. I would have zero confidence swinging this one-handed that it wouldn't get away from me. But the weight distribution on your blade is further back, which gave me quite a bit more control to chop those ropes. It's definitely a cutter, so good job. Nicely done.
Thank you.
Bladesmiths, this
is the kill test. I'm going to take your Kampilan and deliver lethal blows on this big carcass. Todd, you're up first. You ready?
I sure am.
Let's do this.
My concern on the pig test is my blade is thicker in the middle. I'm hoping mine will go all the way through. It won't slow it down by the thickness.
All right, Todd, the swing over here, almost cut all the way. And of course, with an easy swing on the way back, it cut the pig in half. The Kampilan will kill.
Thank you.
All right, Michael, your turn. You ready?
Let's do it.
Let's do this.
I'm excited. I want to see my sword cut through a pig.
All right, Mike. So even though it is a heavier blade, its counterbalance allows to wield going forward and backward easily. So it was an easy recovery for the final chop. Overall, your Kampilan will kill.
Thank you.
Good job.
All right, gentlemen, to test the strength and durability of your blade, I'll be chopping into this green bamboo.
The strength test is always the toughest on a blade. I didn't want to get it too hard. I'm nervous because this test proves you did it right. If you didn't, there's a flaw in it. It's going to reveal itself here.
Whoa. Yeah, I don't feel any damage whatsoever on the edge. It did a job on that bamboo, and it's clean. Well done.
Thank you.
Michael, you ready?
Let's do it.
Okay.
I am still recovering from the trauma of watching Dave use Todd's sword on that bamboo. This test, I believe, is the one that's gonna make or break my blade.
Well, I thought I saw something, but it was just bamboo stuck to your blade. It's fine. There's no damage there. Your blade hasn't changed shape at all. Good job, well done.
Going in like this and we're so close, now it's up to the judges. It's their pick. And so I'm a little nervous.
All right, bladesmiths, from the moment you guys lit those coal forges until this moment, you've put in a lot of hard work. There's been a lot of stress. But in this arena of competition, there can only be one forged and fired champion, and that champion is Michael. Congratulations, you are the forged and fired champion. Todd, unfortunately, your blade did not make the cut.
Todd, this is what we judges expect in the third round. Two beautiful blades, equally matched, but it comes down to the finer details. Your blade isn't as well balanced as that of your opponent's, and your design and detail were not as strong. So for those reasons, we have to let you go.
Understand?
Be proud of your work, Todd, because it was a close call. But please surrender your weapon.
I never thought about making it this far. This is the first sword I've ever made. I'm proud of what I did, and it held up good. I didn't think that I would be capable of doing this. And you never know what kind of strength you can find.
Michael, congratulations. You are the Forged and Fire champion, and that's a title that comes with a check for $10,000. Good job, brother. All right, what's going on inside of there?
It is surreal. Wasn't expected starting this competition, but huge affirmation of my skills.
Please present your weapon to the judges.
It's surreal. It hasn't really set in yet. All the years that I've put into this hobby, this craft, and now to be here and be the Forged and Fire champion, it's pretty amazing.